it must be strongly emphasized that the Supreme Court had already preempted the decisions of Mr. President by affirming in its judgment that there were no government existing in Rivers State, following the demolition of the State House of Assembly by Governor Simeola Fubara, as taking the matter too far and destroying the symbol of democracy. The pronouncement of the Supreme Court already implies anarchy in Rivers and painted an emergency picture in the state. A stitch in time, they say, saves 9 others. It is better to be responsive and proactive than defensive and reactionary. Inasmuch as the declaration of the state of emergency in Rivers State and the manner in which the process was conducted may not be quite satisfactory and may even be considered too extreme a measure in addressing the situation. Yet, it is wiser to save precious lives and valuables, property, than to respond after costly damage has been done. And irreversible losses occurs as a result of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, GCFR, taking the supreme position for granted. As it stands today, the 3 arms of government have spoken and acted. The question is now, which way forward? For us in the Civil Society Council, the milk has been spilled already, and it is too late to cry over the spilled milk. The state of emergencies have been declared by the President and Commander-in-Chief, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, GCFR, as was implied in the Supreme Court judgment and ratified by the 2 chambers of the National Assembly, comprising of the Senate and the House of Representatives, while a sole administrator sworn in and working already. No amount of crying and complaining will reverse the situation at this point. Anyone embarking on endless condemnation and antagonisms will only succeed in whipping up sentiment that would not help in remedying the deteriorated political situation in Rivers State. The best any concerned persons should do now is providing sustainable solution and practicable steps in managing the state of emergency for the overall well-being of the people of the state, general interests of our democracy, and the national development. If River had been left to plunge into full-blown violence, the effects and consequences would have been more devastating than this temporary step back of declaration of the state of emergency. Hence, the decision of Mr. President and response of the National Assembly can be understood in a way. It is with this mindset of making the best out of the bad situation and moving forward in hope and optimism against all odds, the National Civil Society Council of Nigeria has done a critical brainstorming among our stakeholders and members to come up with a strategic advisory for all stakeholders and interested parties in Rivers State Saga, especially the federal government and the sole administrator of Rivers State, Vice Admiral Ibot Ete Ibas, retired. The council used this medium to publicly congratulate the sole administrator on his appointment and urge him to consider this assignment as sacred and orchestrated by God to put an end to decades of leadership succession crisis that has characterized Rivers State politics. If the track record and pedigree of the sole administrator as a man of character, integrity, and uncompromising standard in service delivery, both as a top-class naval personnel and proven diplomat, is anything to go by, then the people of Rivers State have no cause for alarm in terms of human management, and shred deployment of financial resources for well-being of the state and the people. We appeal to the sole administrator to fully bring to bear its sterling qualities to ensure that Rivers State is restored to peace and progress for less than the 6 months. We are convinced it can achieve normalcy and orderliness in the state within the next 3 months. We equally appreciate all the effort made by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, GCFR, in trying to resolve the crisis before it goes to this painful twist of events. And we empathize with the Mr. President on the frustration he must have felt in the process. Though the declaration of the state of emergency is generally viewed as too extreme, we believe this must have been the most viable option available to the presidency, going by available intelligence and privileged security feedback. Anyone looking at the crisis as merely Governor Siminalayi Fubara versus the House of Assembly palaver is even just Wike and Fubara controversy is definitely naive over the deep-rooted political crisis of decay plunging the state, which only found ultimate expression in the recent crisis between Barrister Nyesom Wike, Governor Siminalayi Fubara, and the House of Assembly. It requires a drastic and unpalatable measure, such as the state of emergency, to call all political gladiators of Rivers State to order and cause everyone to rethink their stake and actions. The council will want the president, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, GCFR, to first realize that this declaration of the state of emergency is not popular among Nigerians and is being viewed generally with eyes of suspicions, distrust, and contempt. Hence, requires extreme cautions and well-articulated strategy and sincerity of purpose in its implementation. The people of Rivers State must have no cause or reason to cry beyond this point, or suffer more than they have been through already as a result of the protracted political crisis. The President and the sole administrator now have an Herculean task of justifying the declaration and vindicating the executive and legislative arm of government for taking this position. The Council wishes to contribute our little quotas to achieving this objective by issuing the public advisory, which shall be equally communicated through official documentations and letters to relevant authorities. The National Civil Society Council of Nigeria advisory to the federal government and the sole administrator. 1. To ensure the state of emergency does not extend beyond the stipulated 6-month period, if possible, should be terminated within the next 3 months. 2. To ensure that no one is victimized, especially from the Governor Siminalayi Fubara ends. Instead, that all be given fair treatment, hearing, and level grounds in protecting their various political interests. 3. To set up independent Truth and Reconciliation Committee comprising elder statesmen outside Rivers State, which suggested such as former President of Nigeria, past Vice President of Nigeria, former Senate President and Speaker of the House of Representatives in Nigeria, past Chief Justice of the Supreme Court, top and first-class traditional rulers, renowned religious leaders from both faiths, Christian or Muslim, civil society activists, respected legal luminaries, etc., who will be mandated to make unbiased and in-depth inquiry into the root and proximal cause of the crisis, identify major actors and interest groups in the crisis, engage all in a safe and conducive environment, extract vital facts and figures, and finally make fair and practicable recommendations that will end the political crisis and birth a new order of peace, unity, and progress in Rivers State. 4, the Council shall communicate some issue that cannot be made public during personal engagement and interactions with both the presidency, leadership of the National Assembly, and the sole administrator. We appeal to Mr. President to downplay the political interests of any particular group and place the aspirations of the people of the state and Nigeria above partisan politics. The sole administrator must always be conscious that he is not appointed to side in the crisis, but to take charge of all situations to restore peace and normalcy to Rivers State. By the end of the 6 months, or even later before then, the wisdom behind and the sources of the state of emergency will be tested and attested by the level of peace, stability, progress, and political harmony achieved in the state by the sole administrator. While praying for the good people of Rivers State to emerge stronger and better from this travail, and wishing the sole administrator God guidance and protection, we appeal to all Nigerians, especially the civil society community, to cooperate with the government to achieve possible outcome with this state of emergency options. Long live Rivers State, long live Federal Republic of Nigeria. Thank you and God bless you.
Thank you,